Okay, I got these flywheels all cleaned up again. So there's what it looks like after I deburred the edges. So we knocked off the sharpness there. We're about cutting myself. Alright, so that is done. So now we can move on to the rods. So these are OE rods, yep. So they got the 52 casting date in there, right there. And then you know they're early rod because these are machined right here. Across the surface here, they're machined. The late rods are just as made. They're not machined on top. They changed in the mid 70s. They changed that. So there's some rods floating around here someplace. Whatever. I don't see any right now. So anyway, these are the early rods. So we're going to use these. Okay, so we got to push out the pin bushings and put new ones in. And we got to fit them to his pistons, which I don't think we pulled out pistons yet for him. I got to go find pistons, I guess. Someone's been screwing with my oil over here. So, or I'll just use one of my wrist pins over here I got laying around. I have a different one I use, but yeah, whichever way it works. Okay, we're going to do a new crank pin, but we are going to reuse our cages. So these are the steel cages, which rarely wear out. There's the other one. Aluminum ones are always worn out. Steel ones rarely wear out. There you go. Good stuff. Okay, I'm assuming these are brand new rollers. Look pretty good. Dirty. So we'll just grab a couple of these and check them out. That's transmission roller, that's why they're dirty. This is a rod roller. They're bigger. These are 3/16 diameter. All mixed in here. Jump out of the way to get to them. Look fairly new. These are short ones. So we're just going to grab a couple of these here. Try to measure them and see what we got for diameter. Okay, so these are all our rollers. Let's see what size we got. So it helps to know what size rollers you have. So we grab our mic. This is my carbide tipped one. Always clean them off before you start using stuff for accuracy. These are my non-carbide tipped ones. So these are my ones I don't use very often for this, but they're pretty much the same. I set the mics, so they're both good. This one I use for real precision work. If I get down to a 1/10 or less, I use this one, otherwise I use the other one. But I use the other one too all the time, just whichever one I'm closer to. Okay, these are oversized. So it should be right in the middle of those, between those two lines there. So we flip around over here to our 1/10 scale. And see it lines up right here with this one right here, which is, that is an 8. So that's, these 5 is standard, so 8 would be 3, so that's a 4 over. This is a 4 over roller. It's 1/10 under, which is normal. Measure it again. 8 again. At least they're consistent. So I usually grab 3 or 4 just to make sure. You want to twist them a little bit in your, to work any kind of dirt off. Come back and measure it. And we're about 7.5, almost 8 on that one. I don't know if you can read that right there. Okay, let's check the big ones here, see if they're the same. Yep, right on 8. And 8 again. And 8 again. Okay, so we're consistently at 8. So these are 4/10 over. Okay, so that's 3/10 bigger than stock. Instead of 4. 2 times 3 is 6, in case you didn't know that. So now we have to measure the crank pin. Using our new one here. So you pull out the new one. Wipe off the oil so it doesn't rust. Look it over real quick, make sure there's no issues with it. The scratches right there, but nothing I can feel. Used and abused already. There you go. Get a clean rag to clean it with. You gotta get another scratch across the hole there. Hold on a second. You got 3 there? Thank you. Okay. Grab our bigger mic. Ooh, there's a big one. Good. It's going to help us. So 0 is 1 1/4. Most time Jim's is like a full towel less. This one's not. This one is about 7. Whoop. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit bigger on this side. This side's 8, almost 9. Tape burning, huh? Jeez, Jim's is slipping. Yeah, that's about 8 1/2. What's it on this side? It ain't 8. It's solid 7. Yeah, so they got a 1/10 1/2 of taper in their crank pin. Yeah, they're definitely slipping. So we're going to average this one out at 8. Wonderful. Okay, so 8. Ah, it hurts my hand. So that puts us 2 under 0. 0 is 1 1/4. We're 2/10 less because we're 8. So that would be, now we got to figure out where we got our for clearance. So we got 2 there. These are 6/10 up. So we just lost 6. So now we're at 4 above. We want about 9 clearance into it. So 4 and 9 is 13, which is 1.3 thou above standard. Is what a rod needs to be. Or about 1.4 if you want to. So this is our standard. It's set at 1.625 with a 0. So that means it's accurate. Of course, there's about 1/2 tenth out around 50 millionths error in it. So we go over here to our gauge, over there, and we set it. We set this every time we use it because temperatures make a difference around here. And it's cold right now. We wait for the needle to move. See, it's so damn cold, the needle has to move. Okay, so we can go over here and we get to see what this thing zeroes out. Okay. Okay, looks like it was cold last time I used it because it was 0 again. Whoop. So, see the gauge is at 0. Okay. Boom. See how slow that's moving? It's cold in here. Okay, so grab our rods. Make sure they fit together. Okay, so I'll pull this back a little bit. Okay, so 0 is where we had our numbers at. So the crank pin weighing is 0. We're 2/10 less because of the crank pin was undersized. The rollers are 6/10 above stock. So now we got to add that to that. So that puts it at 4 on the plus side. Okay, now we need some clearance for the bearing clearance. We want 9/10 to 1,000. So Sportster, we can run a little bit looser because these are a higher RPM motor, but definitely want at least 9. We can use 1 if we want. So if we're at 4 here, if we add 9, it's 1.3, which is way down here. If we want to give a little extra, it's 1.4. So we don't know what these are yet. Now we see what these really are. So we're at 10. We need to be at 3 or 4. It's out of round, 6/10 out of round. So we can hone this out, get it round and true, and bring it up to the size of the rollers that we have now. So we actually have to hone it to get back to our standard size, which is good. It's in our favor. See, this one's nice and round. It's 3 to 5/10. It's 2/10 out of round, ain't exactly good, but for most people that's pretty good. I like it to be within 1/10, preferably within 1/2 Okay, so this one's a lot smaller yet, so we got to hone this out some more too. So that's all good. We can hone these out and get to our 0 point. So we're going to make this 13 to 14 on the gauge, and we're done to get these right. I'll probably go to 14 just to make sure I got clearance. Okay, so we got all that figured out. So now we can go ahead and do the wrist pin bushings here. And I need to go find some pistons someplace. So this is a 900 motor, and supposedly we're going to use OE pistons if I can find them. At least that's what we're shooting. So I get to go find me some OE pistons to use. Alright. And I need to put some bushings in these rods also. It's still cold in here too. Okay, so I think first thing I'm going to do is press out some bushings. Then we're going to go on the piston hunt. Okay, so the tools I use for this are over here. See this thing right here. Dad made this, and it works very well. I've been using it for my whole life, and he probably used it for half his. So it's broken in. It was heat treated so it doesn't wear. See, that's the only wear we got all these years. Okay. Camera goes over here. First thing I do is push out the original bush. Now these are only worn just a little bit, but he wants it perfect, so we're going to make it perfect. So this just goes in there. This goes in here. It kind of self-aligns on a taper, and then you push it out with the press. And one bushing comes out. Two bushings out. Okay, now we got to put the bushing back in. First thing I do is make sure you got a nice good sized hole in here. Early rods are usually made correctly. I've had late rods where you barely got a hole in them. Okay, these ones are good. So you want to make sure you line up the hole with the hole, so that way it gets oil on the top of it. Okay, you want to make sure there's no real sharp edges on these, preferably. I take this and I just flip it over to this side. It's smooth. That looks pretty good. These are oversized pin bushings, so they go in pretty tight. So these you gull up a little bit. Slightly off center here. There we go. So you want to make sure you line the hole up. Oh, that one went in. Perfect. Okay, I'll put it back over here where I can work on it. Okay, so about 5 tons of pressure on there. Okay, so that went in there pretty nice, and the hole lines up, so it goes through. All important stuff. Okay, put that on this one. Now, Sportster pin bushings are a little bit shorter than Big Twin, about 100 thou. So if your bushing is way too long, you have a Big Twin bushing. See, that cuts off the excess material from too much press. Takes off what it doesn't like. Okay, now these are ready to be expanded into the hole. I put an expander to expand the bushing into the rod, makes it even tighter, and then you hone it to fit. Alright, so these are ready to be honed. Those are his old bushings, which he's not really going to care about. So we'll just throw them in the junk pile and put our tools back. Okay, so there you go. That's how you do that job. Not too hard. We'll be back.